That's exactly right. And we are live, and we're going to be doing a courageous conversation and chatting with the first of our amazing panel here, Dayle, for you and your courageous conversation. So to those watching, welcome. Vanishaa, Dayle, really great to have you guys on and to talk about this upcoming event.
Yeah.
I had to throw that in for a little bit of fun today. Let's start off with you. This is your baby in essence. So tell us about Courageous Conversations. What's the idea behind it? A little bit of your background, and then we'll move to your guest. I mean, I'm really here to moderate, and then we'll just kick off the conversation. So go for it.
Well, firstly, Nicholas, thank you so much for having us. Toxique is so important to me. As you've mentioned, it is my baby. So I started Toxique as like a series of online conversations, which can be found on YouTube under Toxique Hills. And it's basically a series of online conversations that hopes to stem change, or hopes to create change within South Africa, right? So Toxique is hosting a Courageous Conversations on the 3rd of October this year, and it is a recognition of Mental Health Day, which is acknowledged globally on the 10th of October. And I'm inviting like corporate partners, healthcare organizations, community stakeholders, and of course, socially responsible businesses to support this community wellness roundtable. I hope it to be some sort of impactful event designed to bring together experts and advocates from the mental health, family, wellness, and addiction recovery sectors. So I will host the event, and it will hope to facilitate conversation, meaningful dialogue on the challenges facing individuals and families today, and trying to identify some collaborative solutions that can promote healing, resilience, and of course, long-term wellness. So following the roundtable discussion, attendees will gather for like a networking lunch, and it will also provide an opportunity to deepen relationships. So this is one of many series of events that I hope to host, and I'm hoping to focus on nuclear family dynamics. Vanishaa and I had an online conversation called The Root of the Rot, and I do believe that we don't get to choose our families. So, and everything stems from that, right? Everything stems from childhood, but I'm not the expert. I think she can talk more on that. But Toxique is really dedicated to creating transformative platforms that inspire meaningful conversation, right? Community engagement, and of course, social impact. So yeah, that's about the event. We'll have a panel. It's also like a coffee table kind of discussion where we will dig into these nuclear family dynamics at length, and also have a section where the audience will have the opportunity to ask questions from these experts like Vanishaa. And it also hopes to like promote accessibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
So not many people have the ability to go see a therapist, a psychiatrist, or a legal expert, right? Where now the audience will have an opportunity to speak to these people and ask burning questions, and hopefully get some answers which will be the beginning of a healing journey for them, I'm hoping.
Absolutely love that. And it's so important. And talking about courageous conversations, I think we should commend you on your courage for starting this. It's absolutely, absolutely essential. And Vanishaa, if we move to you, please give us a little bit of your background and why it's important for you to be part of this conversation.
Absolutely. First of all, I'm always very important. That's the thing. I'm important. I'm joking. Right.
No,
I'm
nothing
Vanishaa
wrong with
Gordhan.
that.
I have been in the mental health field for I think over 10 years. I previously worked for SADAG, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, and I was the operations manager there for about 10 years. So I've been in the mental health field for many years. I've always had a passion for psychology. I studied psychology, and then I became a registered counsellor, so now I'm in private practice. I think, through my years, sort of managing or helping others regarding mental health has been a huge give back for me, right? I mean, and absolutely, you mentioned the family system, and the family system is the core support and the core environment where we learn to navigate this real big world that we're in now. And I think it's very important to notice what are the issues earlier so that we can manage them. I know when we talk about mental health, we think depression, we think anxiety, we think suicidal ideation, we think bipolar disorder, we think schizophrenia, but it's so much more than that, right? Managing your mental health actually starts with how you deal with stress, how you manage a day-to-day stressful situation, and how you come above it and say, okay, this happened, what can we do about it now? And those small steps when it's stress can actually lead to better resilience when it's those bigger issues. So that's just a little bit about me. I can talk for days about mental health. I can talk for days about my experiences, but I'm gonna just, round it up there and give it on to our beautiful person that's just started all of this.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's your fault, Ellie. Thank you so much for that. Why was it important, Vanishaa, for you to be part of this conversation and to be connecting here, firstly? Secondly, or maybe we could go first with this. How did you two meet? What's the story of that connection?
Oh, wow. So we met because it was planned that I would be one of the guests on the podcast. And from there, I think we just became kind of friends, I think. And we always bouncing off messages and sort of bouncing off ideas. And I think that was where it started. And I think I talk a lot. So I tend to bring out topics that people feel like, oh my goodness, no one is saying this. Yes. And then I sort of just like put it out there in a very subtle way, but make you think a little bit. I think I have that as one of my skills that I don't know where it came from. I can't tell you where it came from. And I think with regards to this conversation, I think I love being in conversations. The one thing I believe I miss from being within the SADAG home and the SADAG environment is having these conversations all the time. Private practice can be quite lonely, but of course I still sort of, want to navigate my way into speaking engagements, having conversations, seeing and listening to what people have to say about what's going on.
I think I'm so glad that you brought that up about coming onto the podcast, and that was the starting of the meeting point, but sort of developing this friendship, because even in the short time that we spent just before we went on air, I could see that there was a connection and an understanding between the two of you. So Dayle, a question for you. What made you choose Vanishaa, and then how did that relationship and the connection between the two of you evolve? And what surprised you about that?
I think we are similar in the way that we both have no filter. We say things for what they are, and we are very passionate about just getting to the root of things and not hiding behind stigmas or stereotypes, or some things we talk about can be pretty uncomfortable. And I think that the one thing that I love about Vanishaa is that she pushes the boundaries, and she always makes me think. She always brings in a very fresh perspective. And yeah, I would say that I'm grateful to have her, and not only as a guest, but as an active person in my life. Um, yeah, I think what surprised me about it is that we connect so easily. You know, there's just no, it's effortless. So when she joined, you know, it was like I spoke to her yesterday. It feels so natural. It feels so comfortable. Yes.
I think that's going to be such an asset for the event in October. It's going to be such an asset just seeing the two of you. And I'm excited for chatting with the other guests and being able to facilitate those conversations as we lead up to October. And I think you've both touched on something, and I love the idea of no filter and the concept of no filter, because filters can be used for, shall we say, comfort in public, where, you know, children are behaving and not overwhelming an event and growing up to be people that are not really liked. So we need our filters to an extent, meaning that, you know, we need behavior and conformity. So there's public acceptance. But when we push that too far, where we conform so much, we filter so much that we stop sharing what's going on inside of us or what we're seeing and experiencing. And the filter can have a very counterproductive effect on our life, on the quality of life of those that we're interacting and seeing. So we really need to understand filters. And I think even in terms of mental health, society, the filter is so strong that I would dare to say the majority of people think they understand mental health challenges, think they understand what people are going through, and think they understand what they're going through in terms of, yeah, I'm okay, where we see this almost surface level acceptance, but not being able to go deep enough. And I think filters are a large part of that. So Vanishaa, to go to you first and then to Dayle, how important is depth in understanding mental health of society and ourselves?
And I think you touched on that when you talked about the no filter, right? And it's the authenticity. It's being your authentic self. And I think a lot of times what happens is that we feel like we're unable to share because somebody might think something about it. So it's almost like that fear of judgment, which is the main limitation there, I think. And that also links to stigma, right? It's that fear of judgment, that stigma around mental health. It's about telling someone that I am not feeling well, I'm not doing well today. How are they going to take it? Are they going to think I'm weak? Are they going to think that I'm just being a crybaby? Are they going to think that, oh, I'm just having one of my tantrums? Is it that? And I think, you know, it's so important to have these very real, very authentic, very courageous conversations, because then what we're doing is we sort of peeling off, you know, that cover bit. And I mean, unfilter and filter, I mean, it's just, you know, I'm thinking about it and I'm thinking that when we say filter, the thought is now is all of those Instagrammy filters, right, of your face and your environment and your, I don't know, the mess in the back, you know, that you filtered out because now you have to put a background on. Is that, are we filtering to the effect of almost making ourselves a picture perfect person, but in the background, we're completely a mess? So I think it's very important to be able to have a certain amount of authenticity. And I think having these conversations around mental health bring that out, because it allows people to say, hey, someone else understands. Someone else can, you know, is experiencing a similar thing to this. Someone else is, this is what they're doing to help themselves. This is what they're doing to manage their mental health. You know what? Let me try this. And maybe, just maybe, is that if they have a friend that they're noticing, oh my goodness, wait, I can see the warning signs here. I can see that they're struggling. Let me explain to them what I saw and how I'm changing, and then maybe it will help them. So you're almost creating a ripple effect of help and support and authenticity if you're thinking about it. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes, for me, perfect sense. Dayle, for you, how does it make you feel? And thinking, what do filters mean to you? And perhaps let me throw this question at you. Do you feel through your own experience and the work that you've done that sometimes filters become masks, as Vanishaa mentioned with regards to Instagram?
You know, Toxique was conceived and birthed through just lived experience. And I had to learn, I had to a large extent, reparent myself. I had to make a conscious effort to understand mental health through a lot of reading, through connections like SADAG and FAMSA, and just understanding. And I was very filtered because I did not. My situation was just so abnormal, and through the loss of my daughter in 2024. I had to take a serious, clear, honest look at myself. And every experience with myself in the mirror was like removing a part of the mask. And when I started taking accountability for myself, for the decisions I've also made, because I think that we forget to take accountability for ourselves and what we've done and the role that we have played in certain situations. We are not blameless, right? And having those kinds of honest conversations with yourself and having a safe space and people who are safe to talk about these kinds of things with really help you understand what to filter and what not to filter. And the more I lean into myself as a human being, the more I lean into the good and the bad, about my own personality and my own life, the easier the journey becomes. And just like Vanishaa has mentioned, when you start talking, when you start removing these filters, you notice a sort of like universal trend, like, oh my goodness, I'm actually not the only one. I'm not the only one who's gone through something like this. I'm not. And when you can connect with people, not for lack of a better word, not like trauma bonding, but when you can connect with people and understand their situation. And it's like this idea of universal suffering, like we're all going through it, right? That helps you be more true to yourself and be a lot more authentic. So I do get what you were saying, Nicholas, in terms of like, we have to filter to a certain extent, but not to the point where it becomes harmful to our minds. And this is what this event hopes to do, is we are experiencing so much within the home. And we find that within the South African context, we have multi-generational homes, and our generation is all for mental health, right? But you have the older family members who are like, therapy, like what's wrong with you? Bite the bullet, So it's working through all those dynamics to a large extent, we also have to filter ourselves to our families, and we have to cover the mess and hide the mess because we don't want to expose. But my core belief is that we can't heal what we conceal. We have to speak about it.
A large sense that I'm getting in speaking to both of you is that you wanting this event to be perhaps the foundation of healing, or the starting point of healing, perhaps for people to understand that they have they could have their own permission to start to heal, and that
Exactly.
it's something that we need to give ourselves and to gift ourselves, and that it's actually okay. And that, as I come from a generation, as I don't know if you've noticed the beard, but a little bit older than you guys, and there was the generation of, cowboys don't cry, and you don't talk about your feelings, you don't talk about your emotions, particularly with Gen X latchkey kids. You grew up mostly on your own, and you learned to deal with stuff on your own. But it's not always how you serve yourself best and how you give the best of yourself to others. Because when we're keeping all of these things inside, we're not able to deal with the world to the best of our abilities, because we're putting so much emotion and energy into trying to carry our trauma, our pain, our suffering, and maybe our temper's a bit shorter, or our concentration span, our energy levels are not where they need to be to give what we need to give. And I think it starts with forgiving ourselves, and it starts with permission to give, giving ourselves permission to heal. So I'd like your thoughts on that. How important is permission in the starting of this journey? Vanishaa, can we start with you? And then Dayle, I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well.
Absolutely. And I think, giving yourself grace is such an important thing. I always tell people, and I tell my clients a lot of the times, give yourself grace. Sometimes you only can do what you can do with what you know at that time. Yes, we learn, we grow, we understand new things, we can change our own behaviors through, learning new skills. But at the time where maybe we got angry, maybe we got upset, but we did the best with what we knew at that point. And just knowing that, and knowing that there's that experience, or maybe, for lack of a better example, an argument you had with someone, at that point, that's all you knew. After the argument, you're like, oh, I could have done this. Okay, I've learned this. Okay, within that conversation, it came out that this was the issue. Okay, now I know. Next time you can do it better. But give yourself grace, because at that time, during that very hard conversation, that's all you knew. And giving yourself that compassion and grace can be very helpful long term, because we are human beings, right? All of us. We're all human beings. We're all supposed to have all the emotions. We're supposed to feel sad. We're supposed to feel happy. We're supposed to feel down. If we lose a loved one, we're supposed to feel grief. When we go to a wedding, we're supposed to feel happy and excited and, feel like you want to party. And, you want to, right? You're supposed to have all the emotions. You're this human being with all of the emotions. By limiting those emotions and saying, okay, I'm not supposed to be sad. I'm not. I'm supposed to get on. I'm supposed to move on. Look at everyone else. They're just moving on. That's a practical way of doing it. But what are we doing then with those emotions that's supposed to go somewhere? We're keeping it inside. And then what happens with it? Eventually it turns into, remember the core of, and I've been actually telling one of my clients ever so recently, is that we're having this discussion around anger, right? But where does anger actually come from? Its core emotion is pain, right? And hurt. So if we figure out how can we share the pain, how can we express it, then we're also eradicating the anger outbursts that you might have. So remember, there's lots of different ways in which you look at it. And the one thing I always say is that we are human beings, right? And each and every one of us is absolutely unique. No person is going to experience pain, grief, anger, anxiety exactly like you. Yes, we have this checklist. We do as mental health professionals. We see it. But remember, the reason why we have to have conversations is to unpack it, to see where do they come from, to see what's happening, what is unique to you, how can we give you skills or give you ways for you to manage it in your way that fits you. So I think it's very important to give yourself grace. It's very important to allow yourself to learn. The one example I always give my clients, a lot of them actually, and they have a good giggle about it, is like, how do you expect to do a division sum in grade 1 if you don't even know 1 + 1? You can't give a division sum to a grade 1 child. They don't have the skills yet. They haven't learned what a plus sign looks like, what a minus sign looks like, what does a division sign mean. They have no idea. But as they get older, they'll learn it.
Absolutely
I hope that
brilliant.
helps.
Absolutely. Thank you. For you, Dayle, what is permission? What does it mean to you? And if I may ask, how have you applied that in your life on your journey of healing?
This is such a great question. And just to add on to Vanisha's point, I read something so
Do
beautiful.
sorry, we don't want just me on there. Sorry about that.
I read something so beautiful that said, if we were only supposed to experience happiness, it would be the only emotion that existed, right? So it exists for a reason because you're supposed to feel it. What I've had to learn within my personal journey is just treating myself like a friend. Um, I realized that my self-talk was completely rubbish, and I was so hard. And it just leans into that grace aspect that um, Vanisha was talking about. Like, I'm so empathetic and so kind towards other people, yet when it comes to myself, the complete opposite. And the permission to say, oh my goodness, I messed up and it's okay. Oh my goodness, I was toxic. I was a little toxic, and it's okay. But learning from it, right? Like taking that accountability, making a conscious effort to get a toolkit and, as you said, unpack it and figure it out and share and deal with it. So I've just had to learn to be kind and empathetic to myself. And it annoys some people sometimes, when you say, oh, it happened. It really when you show yourself grace, when you treat yourself like a friend, you become calmer towards yourself. Your inner being changes, and it's the most beautiful experience. Like, if my best friend did something that she wasn't proud of,
Mm.
I would say to her, it's okay. Like, we make mistakes, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel embarrassed. It's okay. And I've just learned how to speak to myself like that now. So, oh, Dayle, you messed up. I know, it's okay. I'm going to be okay. it's, it's okay. And it really is okay.
Sure. And I think that giving ourselves permission to understand that it's okay is one of the greatest gifts that we can give ourselves. And let me throw this out to both of you. What, and it's funny, I think we could continue this conversation for hours. And we don't want to take away from the talk itself, but this is so important. And I can see how important it is to both of you. And then understanding that, okay, we almost have to pull back a little bit. It's like learning not to give 100% of yourself 100% of the time. But for you, Dayle, what would you like to look at and get out of this event? What do you want people to take home? And then I'll ask the same question to Vanisha.
Awareness. I think that is the core for me. Is just you can't fix something that you don't see as broken, right? So I'm really hoping that attendees will benefit from the panel themselves. These are like experts in their fields, and just to just to have just to know that there are safe spaces where they can go and talk, and it's okay to admit your feelings. It's okay to acknowledge where you are at the time out loud. Many of us know these truths about ourselves, but we don't really speak about it. And I just need people to understand that healing is a process. There's no end point. It's like exercise, right? It's like gymming. You don't just gym and get to or hope to get to a certain point where you're going to stop gymming. It's a lifelong it's a lifelong journey, and just to start and spark those conversations, that really people can go home and think like it was beneficial, and they've now learned some new tools to be able to deal with their own situations that they're facing.
It's incredibly powerful and a wonderful analogy with gym, because gym also teaches us that we need to be willing to go into the pain in order to grow. We can't hide in comfort and expect growth
Yes.
as well. Vanishaa, with your experience and your expertise, your experience in the real world with your clients, your expertise in what you've studied, what you've gained through working with your clients, what would you like the attendees to take away from this event? What message would you like them to hear? And I'm asking them, what should they be listening out for as well? Not just in terms of the general conversation, but what do you want them to take with them when they go home?
That's a hard question for me, because I want everyone to take everything home, like the whole toolbox, not just like one or two tools from the box. I want them to take the whole thing, pack it up. In all of the conversations that I have, I feel like my motive always with these conversations is to allow people to know themselves, to reflect, and to also, not only like give yourself grace, but to take home with you the sense that there are safe spaces. There are places where you can talk to someone when you're feeling down. There are safe environments where, if you reach out, like SADAG, for example, you phone them and you can have a conversation with the counselor. Book your appointments, stick to your sessions with your psychologists, your counselors, your psychiatrists. Know that, like the same way the gym analogy, I think it's great because you have to keep going to gym, right? And the day you don't go to gym, you have to do your gymming at home, whether it be, and I'm going to say this, don't laugh at me, running on the spot or doing jumping jacks, right? That's still exercise. So if you can't get to the gym, you have to do some work at home to keep the momentum going, right? To keep that sort of stamina going so that you don't have to start all over again. So I think doing your reflective stuff at home, taking some time out. One of the skills that I always give my clients, one of the very core skills, I always say that before you do anything, or before you get angry, or when you're in the moment of sadness, or when you're in a moment where you don't know what to do and you're just baffled, take a step back. In your head, take a step back, or physically take a physical step back and say, okay, where am I right now? What am I feeling right now? Where am I feeling it in my body? Am I feeling tingles in my hands? Am I feeling, like a little, that upset feeling in your tummy, that little nausea feeling? Where am I feeling it in my body? The one thing I think is very important is to bring it back to the body. We ignore the body a lot. We ignore what it's telling us, right? We ignore what it's telling us. And then we push it too far. And then it's anxiety, it's stress, it's overwhelm, and we cannot manage more. So that's what I would say, that there are safe spaces. Reach out. Don't be scared to actually have a conversation with anyone that is safe for you. Find it. Write that person's name on your phone. Say it's safe. And phone them.
That's actually life-saving advice, which is unbelievable. I really love that. Not to give away too much with what we're going to be discussing. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with telling people to take the whole toolbox home. So a question for both of you.
You might say too many tools.
No, there's not too many tools. Then maybe if we have too many, we can share some. So I think that's really what happens when we reach a point in our lives and in our healing where we have a lot of tools. We feel safe to start sharing and giving out a few and lending a few out. And perhaps that's really, in essence, what this event is about. But you're bringing a lot of toolbox, Dayle. You're bringing a lot of toolboxes and a lot of master tool experts to the table. For a question for you both as we wrap up. If someone was coming to this event and they wanted to bring a friend, what should they say to that friend? Dayle, we'll start with you. No pressure.
Wow. This is a big question. I'm trying to
Big
think about what
questions
I
are my
say to my
job.
own
It's what I
friend.
do.
If I'm going to say, Annie, we're going to this event. Where are we going? Why are we doing it? We need help. That's what I tell her. I'd be like, we need to go and get some help.
Sure. We need to
I
go get
just
some
say
help
that.
in a safe place.
Yes, exactly. We have, I'd say to her, we have this great opportunity of having these people who cost so much money per hour at our fingertips for the next, 5 hours, 4 hours? And we get to connect, we get to learn. And mental health is so, the only thing we have is health. And we focus so much on our bodies and not always on our minds. And it's time, if you need spiritual help, you go to a church or a temple or a mosque. If you need help for your body, you go to the gym. If you need help for your body, you go to the hospital also. So now we need to go get help for our minds. And we need to learn because it's a process and it's a journey. So let's go hear what these people have to say. And let's go ask some burning questions that we don't always have the answers to ourselves.
Oh, love that. Vanishaa, for you.
That's a hard one for me because I think my main thing would be is like, okay, let's go. I'd actually trick them, I think.
Tell them it's coffee.
And I'm being honest with you, I would trick them. I'd be like, oh my goodness, we're going to go paint mugs.
Sip and
Let's
paint.
go. There we go. No, I'm joking. So I think, the biggest thing would be for me is okay, so everyone knows that I live and breathe mental health, my whole everyone. It's always mental health. It's always psychology. It's always what's happening right now and what are the conversations, And I think what I would say to my friend is be like, okay, everyone gets stressed. Everyone gets overwhelmed. Let's go hear how other people deal with their overwhelm and stress. Maybe we'll learn something.
Perfect. Love that.
Nicholas, I have to add on to that.
Uh-oh.
If anything that I say doesn't convince my friend to go, I'd say, let's just go for the food.
Ah, even better. Okay, Fab, there you go. You had me at food and the good coffee. I think for me, if I may be so bold to step in, I think I would say to a friend, I'm struggling. I sense you're struggling. I don't have the skills to help you in the way that I would like to and would want to. But I think this place is where we can gain some really great tools. And that's why please come with me. If not for you, then just for me.
That's beautiful.
And I think, love that.
That's really sort of what we're looking at, in the sense that I get what you're wanting to do with this and why you're both involved. And I think it's going to be the most incredible opportunity for people to gain skills, to connect, and everybody should bring at least one friend. And if they can't get to the event because it's sold out, and Ellis Park can only seat, I think it's 80,000 people. No pressure. And no, the Jumbotron there would be great for a background. But then there is going to be the live stream, the broadcasting of the event as well. I think just as we start to wrap up, because again, we're wanting to save some things for the event. Vanishaa, from your side, is there anything you'd like to add in closing?
I just think all I'd like to say is that mental health is an ongoing conversation. Be a part of any of the conversations, and you'll be doing yourself as well as your community and your families a great service.
Yeah, I love that. Fantastic. And for you, Dayle?
We have to heal, right?
Mhm.
So what's so important is the next generation. Like the choices that we make affect 5 other generations. And I would want my son to be mentally aware and alert and in touch with where he is at the time or at any point of his life, and to be able to understand what he needs to do to be able to succeed. So the choices that we make today affect everybody else in our lives and future generations.
Absolutely. That very, very powerful words to end on. Thank you to both of you for your time. Dayle, thank you for putting this together. Vanishaa, thank you for coming on board. I'm looking forward to seeing you both at the event. I'm very honored to be on the panel as well, and looking forward to chatting with the other panelists leading up to the event and creating a little bit of interest around this. Thank you to our listeners and our viewers for joining us. And just before we leave, give us the details. So we're looking at 3rd of October, venue to be confirmed. What other information do we have?
From 10 to 2.
From 10 to 2. Perfect. And there'll be food and coffee.
Definitely.
Okay. So if you're in the Johannesburg area, if you're in South Africa, try and get there in person. If you can't, join us online for the live stream. It's going to be absolutely fantastic and quite a production as well. We're going to make sure of that. So thank you, everyone, for joining us.